And you know what's amazing? I have a huge following in the black community.
I know that.
I mean, well, I'm sure
well, well, that's a cool thing.
I love it.
Well, I mean,
are you kidding?
Did you anticipate that when you put on? Well,
I didn't know that.
The real characters. That's the thing.
I didn't know that. I mean, but every time when I go somewhere, when I go to like events or something, and I've been to like some hip hop events, I'm like, forget it.
Well, we love. I'll speak for the entire race here.
Yeah.
We love gangster films.
I'm telling you.
But we're not really always included in them. So even on the love story, and when you show the guy on the bus, give the guy the finger and all that kind of stuff, that endears us.
Well, it was important for me to show, I'm glad we're talking about this, it was important for me to show about racism because I grew up in a neighborhood that was somewhat racist. Not everybody. Let me clarify that. Not everybody. There's some wonderful people, a lot of wonderful store owners that were not like that. But there was some that were. And I grew up in a neighborhood where I fell in love with a black girl, and I didn't see color. To me, it was a beautiful girl, you know. And my father didn't bring me up that way. He brought me up in a way that, hey, my father was a bus driver, and as a young man, I saw him help an older black woman with her bags, her shopping onto the bus, and helped her sit down. And I watched him as a young boy, and I saw that you help people, no matter what color they are. So when my friends were fighting with the Afro-Americans, I felt, why am I doing this? But I would go with them sometimes because I was peer pressure, but I was always like, why is this? What's going on here? And eventually, I just backed away and I didn't hang out with those guys no more. And eventually some of them got killed.
Right on this spot here stood the man, Sonny. Sharkskin suit, diamond pinky ring. Sonny had 5 fingers, but he only used 3.
Mr. Palminteri, what is better, to be feared or to be loved?
Well, I get asked that question a lot. It's better to be loved if you're Chazz. It's better to be feared if you're Sonny. So if it's better to be loved if you're just a regular person, I would say.
Here's what you do. Tomorrow you borrow my car.
You don't lend anybody your car.
It's all right. I'm going to lend you my car. I want you to make a good impression. You borrow my car, and then you give her the test.
What, the Mario test?
Mario's a fucking psycho. What do you listen to this kid for? You give her my test. You give her the door test.
What's the door test?
All right, listen to me. You pull her right where she is, right? Before you get out of the car, you lock both doors. Then you get out of the car, you walk over to her. You bring her over to the car. You take out the key, put in the lock, open the door for her. Then you let her get in. Then you close the door for her. Then you walk around the back of the car and you look through the rear window. If she doesn't reach over and lift up that button for you so you can get in, dump her.
Just like that?
Listen to me, kid. If she doesn't reach over and lift up that button for you so you can get in, that means she's a selfish broad, and all you're seeing is the tip of the iceberg. You dump her, and you dump her fast.
There's so many great lines in A Bronx Tale. I mean, that, and I have to tell you honestly, the door test has been a big part of my life ever since I saw the movie in '93. I mean, so what's it like knowing that you created all this great vernacular?
You know, when I realized that my vernacular got into the culture of American dialogue, it's very flattering. It's like, I remember I used to listen to the Godfather lines, take the cannoli, leave the gun, take the cannolis, and all those great lines, make him an offer he can't refuse, And now they quote my movie, so it's very flattering. Especially it's about my life. My real name is Colodro. I was a little boy. My father was a bus driver. The play is based on the killing that I saw when I was 9 years old, and my relationship with the Wiseguy and my father. So I had a relationship with a black girl when I was 17. So all of that is all in there. So that's why I'm thrilled to be doing it here at the great new Prince Music Theater here down on Chestnut Street.
Exactly. Now, it's been almost exactly 20 years since the movie came out. Yeah. September 1993 is when it came out.
That's right.
And now, I know you've been touring this, but why bring it back now?
It's a good question. I brought it back in 2007 to do it on Broadway because I felt there was a whole new generation of people who never saw the original show. People think the movie was first. No, the Broadway show was first. Then the movie came. And so I brought it back when I brought it back in 2007, it was a huge hit again. And then I did the national tour, and that was a huge hit. And then my last stop was Las Vegas. I did Las Vegas. I said, okay, that's it. I'm not going to do it anymore. And I became the #1 show on the Sunset Strip in Las Vegas. So they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So I kept going back there every year to do it there in Las Vegas. And now I just do 20, 25 dates a year. And I loved Philadelphia. Philadelphia is one of my favorite cities. I was here at the Merriam Theater in 2008, and I thought I'd come back again. And the Prince Music Theater was just opening up with the new venue, and they redid the whole thing. And they asked me to come back, and I said, "Well, great, let's do it."
Fantastic. So, I mean, and not only is the story like a classic for American film, but the story behind the film, it's a Cinderella story really for show business. I mean, I know you've told the story a gazillion times, but for those who don't know.
Well, for those who don't know, that I was a struggling actor in in LA, excuse me. I was a respected actor in New York. I did a lot of theater, and then I went to LA and I got some guest starring roles, but then I ran out of money and I was really down, and I said, well, what should I do? I got to get seen, So I said, well, I know what I'll do. I'll write a one-man show, play all the parts. And I thought about this killing that I saw when I was 9 years old. These two guys, I thought they were fighting over a parking space at the time. And all of a sudden, one guy got out with a baseball bat, cracked the guy's skull, bleeding. Another guy came over and protected his friend and killed him. And I stared at him, he stared at me, and then the next minute I knew I was 9, my father grabbed me by my arm, pulled me upstairs, the cops came up, and I went and identified the guy. And I started the whole thing, and I became really good friends with the guy, and I started going there, and I started hanging out with the wise guys. And let me get something straight. I'm not a wise guy. I was never in the mafia, but I was like a friend of theirs. I would do things for them, get them coffee, cake, and just and the guy, Sonny, really liked me. He treated me like a son. So that started my relationship with him. And so I wrote this play about my experiences with these guys. I performed it at this little theater. It became the hugest hit in LA and New York, the world at the time. It was like Rocky in '76 and then Bronx Tale in '89. It was amazing. They offered me $250,000 to walk away. I said no. And they said $500,000. I said no. I had $200 in the bank, and they offered me $1 million. Again, I said no. And then about a week after I turned down the $1 million, Robert De Niro walked into the theater, saw the show, came backstage, said, wow, he said, the show is amazing. He said, this would make a great movie. He says, I'll play your father, I'll direct it, you play Sonny, and you write the screenplay. Shake my hand, and that's the way it was.
Wow, that's really a Cinderella story.
It sure is.
I mean, and with the internet, there's lots of people that are like doing what you did, 20 some odd years ago. Yeah. They're taking control of their careers in a way by creating their own content and just putting it up on the web.
The only way is to take control of your life, especially in show business. I always tell young actors and writers and filmmakers, I say, people they're not going to knock on your door and say, hey, would you like to be in my movie? They have to see you work. If you're a writer, they have to see it. If you're an actor, they have to see it. You're a director, they have to see it. If you want to be a producer, you've got to produce a movie. So you have to get out there, and if it means you have to do it for free or for nothing, you have to do it, and that's the way it goes.
Was translating this one-man show into a screenplay, I mean, did you get help with that, or did you sit there and just...
I sat down and I wrote it. Did you ever see the one-man show?
I've never seen it.
Okay, I hope you get a chance to come and see it now, because it's the movie. It's so easy. You look at it and you go, that's the movie. It's literally the same dialogue, the same scene progression. It's the movie. That's why when people saw it, they were like, that's why the bidding went up to $1.5 million, because it was easy for them to see the movie. It was like, not only did I make you read the script, I pitched the script to you. So that's why it was crazy.
All right. So tell us that day you got all those notepads and you decided, I'm going to make this happen for myself.
I went to Thrifty Drugstore on Ventura Boulevard in the Studio City. I got home, I sat down, I went back to my dumpy apartment in North Hollywood, And I just said, all right, well, I'll write about the killing. And I wrote a 5-minute piece right there. And then I performed it for my theater workshop, and everybody just freaked out and loved it. And each week I would write more and more. Then I would perform it on Monday nights at the theater. And then after almost 10 months, I had 90 minutes of a one-man show. I performed it, and my life changed.
Wow. So just tell us, like, what were the salad days like? I mean, before the one-man show and all that stuff. I mean, like, a lot of people watching that are thinking about moving to LA. I mean, was that a definite, like, a necessary step for young actors? Or?
Well, I think you can get training if you live. I mean, look, there's some great training in Chicago, some great theater in Chicago, some wonderful theater here in Philadelphia. But I think if you want to get in the game after you've got some training, I think you have to go to New York or LA. I believe that. Either one. I personally started in New York, and then I went to LA, then I came back to New York. But you know, you can be a fighter like training in the gym, and you can get really good. But sooner or later, you have to get in the ring. You got to fight somebody, you know. So you got to get in the ring, and you got to get out there. You got to be rejected. You're going to hear no a lot. But I always tell young actors, it's 1,000 no's, but 1 yes. So keep on trying. You know, you were talking about advice to young people, and I say this, and I'm not saying this because I'm doing my show here, but I think, and I do a little discount for students, because I want them to see the show. It's very important to me that they come and see the show if they're film students or theater students. And that is, you'll see how a person took his life by the horns, got up on stage, wrote something, and you'll see me do it, and you'll understand that this was before the movie. So I encourage all young filmmakers, actors, writers, producers, to especially come and see the show. I'm doing it here at the Prince Theater, the Prince Music Theater on Chestnut Street. September 19th, 20th, 21st. Come and see it. There's a discount for you on a Thursday night for them. And God bless, and I hope it inspires you.
Beyond Bronx Tale, you also had Faithless made into a movie. What's the key once you get into the room and having a meeting with somebody? What do you try to, is it still salesmanship, or what happens?
Absolutely. It's absolutely salesmanship. I mean, as a director, you're asking a man to put up $10 million for your movie. I mean, look, you better sell that thing. I mean, if you walk in there shuffling your feet and I'm not sure if it'll work, I think it will, they're not going to give you no money. You have to go in there and explain to them, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, you know. And usually if you're a filmmaker, you believe that, you know. But you have to have passion, and that's what they look for. That's what I look for when I'm directing a movie and I hire people, is passion, is wanting to be good and wanting to, you know, people that are competent and really wanting to do a good job. That's important.
Well, you heard it here first. We got words of advice from the Don Capo, Sonny, a.k.a. Chazz Palminteri, and you're watching Reelblack TV.
And Jimmy tented too. He was Sonny's bodyguard. Jimmy tented too. They called him tented too because when he walked, his feet were always like the clock, like 10 to 2. And he would walk like this. Years later, he got shot in the leg, and they called him 20 after.
Hi, this is Chazz Palminteri, and you're watching Reelblack.